As we begin section 3-5, we have talked a lot about solving variables. We've talked about solving variables with one variable, or solving equations with one variable. We've talked about solving equations with two variables. Today we get the fun task of solving equations or systems that have three variables in them. Now my steps are by no means like technical steps or anything. Some students have just asked for a nice list so they have steps to follow. When I was student teaching, somebody told me always give steps when you can. So when you have three variables that you need to solve, you can take my advice or you can kind of find your own method, but I promise you that one of these two will work. If you want to do the solve it problem, you're trying to figure out what values of A, B, and C will go ahead and balance all of these different balancing beams. So it's just kind of a fun little warm-up if you feel like doing that. All right, today you'll be given three equations. Among these three equations, there will be three different variables. 3, 3, and 3, right? Three variables, three equations. You need them. You can approach these types of problems in two different ways. Okay, so this is way number 1, and this area down here, this is way number 2. I have found that most students prefer way number 1. Here's option 1. You can pick one of the equations and solve for one variable by isolating it. Take this new equation that you just made and substitute it into the other two equations. Notice I capitalized the other and I've made S, the equations, plural. So you're going to plug it into the two other. You will simplify both of the new equations and you'll combine your like terms. You should now have two equations with only two variables. After you do that, with your two new equations, you will use linear combination or substitution with these two new equations and solve for a new variable. So it's like goes back to being a 2 by 2. You should now have one of them. After you solve, you will get an answer. This is the first answer at this step that you will get. Step 3, you will take the variable answer from step 2, work your way back up the problem, and plug it into your other equations that only have two variables. After you do this, you're going to find another problem. Now you have two answers. Then you're going to take your two answers, you're going to work all the way back up to like this step, the step A, and you're going to plug those both into the beginning. And then you'll have all three. Now if you don't, so what step 1 really does, step 1 starts with substitution, and then it moves to linear combo. Okay? What option number 2 does is this all linear combo. I used to teach only method 2 until somebody was like, you know what, can we do substitution for the first step? Step B, you pick two of the equations and you linear combo them or eliminate them to cancel out a variable. When you do this, you will need to do this again. This step, you'll need to do it again with another set of two variables and cancel out the same variable. After you do this, you will now have two equations with two variables. So this one requires a lot of work at the beginning. Then these steps in here are the exact same as they were up here. It's just how you start is different. Let's try.